Right, so I'm going to do a review of the Bonfus Middus two-person tent. Normally I would do these reviews out in the wild, but it's actually easier for me to do it in a garden because what I'm going to do with this review is go through multiple different setup options for this tent. So what I'm going to do, we will set the tent up without any inner in it, so you can see that and the space available. Then we will set up the one-person mesh inner, followed by the two-person mesh inner. Then we'll set up the two-person solid inner, but we're going to do that with an alternate configuration. So normally you have the trekking pole going up the middle of the tent. However, what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you the setup with this adapter here, which allows you to split two trekking poles either side of the tent, which frees up more internal space so you're not stuck with a pole down the middle. So I will show you that as the last configuration at the end. And once we've done that, we'll go through the specifications of the tent, the pricing, and then I will give my final thoughts on this tent, pros and the cons. I've had this tent now for about a year and I have taken it out in all sorts of conditions. I've been out heavy wind, heavy rain, snowstorms. I've taken it up mountains almost 3,000 meters high. Where it's just rocky ground. I've had just myself in it, I've had two people in it. How you doing?
Alright.
Wet, cold?
Not right now.
So I've really got a good idea of the pros and cons of this tent because I have used it to death. So in the stuff sack I've actually got the outer tent along with the two-person mesh inner, which is here, but we'll put that to one side for now. And that essentially is the outer of the tent. So you do need quite a big pitch when pitching this tent because it does take up quite a lot of floor area. Bonfus also do a one-person version of this tent, so if you're looking for something a bit smaller, that might be something to look at. So we lay all four corners of the tent out, and then you'll need 4 stakes to get the tent actually pitched. And that is actually all you do need to pitch this tent. You just need the 4 pegs. There are obviously lots of additional guy-out points, but to actually get the tent erected and being able to sleep in it, 4 pegs will do the job. So each 4 corner has these guy-out points, and you'll want to make sure that it follows the line of the stitching of the tent. Don't have it too tight because you do want some give, so just leave it a little bit loose, so you've got a little bit of give. But it is most important to make sure that everything is square. So once you've initially pegged it out, just go round and just check that everything is square, and if not, just squared off, so just adjust it if not, and that's it. That is the tent pegged out. Now you need to take your trekking pole, and we're going to put this up the middle of the tent. A little bit of word about the trekking poles. The height of the Bonfus Middus goes from 138 centimetres to 142 centimetres. I think I've got that correct. So you will need a trekking pole long enough to accommodate that, or you will need a separate pole to accommodate it, or you will need an adapter for your trekking pole if your trekking pole's not long enough. I purposely bought some of these Lecky Mercula poles, which go up to 145 centimetres. So that means I don't have to faff about with any adapters if I just want to go in the traditional pole vertical position. I mean, I don't have to carry any extra weight because I always use trekking poles. So yeah, carrying a separate carbon pole as well as my trekking poles just doesn't really make a lot of sense for me when having a trekking pole tent, but obviously your circumstances may differ. It's not a huge amount of trekking poles on the market that go to 145 centimetres. Obviously Lecky do some. You can also get some in the UK from Alp Kit, and they go even higher than this. I can't remember the height, but they go, I think they go over 150 centimetres. So there are some on the market if you do just want the trekking pole and not have to bother with adapters. Bonfus do sell a trekking pole jack, and they also do sell poles specifically made for this tent. So next thing to do is to get this trekking pole in. So obviously I keep the rubber tip attached because you don't want to be puncturing the tent with that. And then if I point that into the ground, it will go into the ground and you will lose some height on the trekking pole. So I will be going handle side up, and I'll show you the reason for doing that in a minute. This isn't ideal, having this kind of shaped handle, because you go straight up and then obviously one part of it is a little bit offset. If this was just one of those trekking poles where you just had a kind of a round handle on the top instead of this extended handle bit, it makes it a little bit better, but it's not a massive issue. You could also go that way round. If I'm pitching it with the 2-person inner and I'm going trekking pole vertical, that's the way I will do it around as opposed to that. But I'm going to put the 1-person inner in first, and I want it this way round, which I will show you why in a second. Right, so have a look for the peak of the tent. So you can see that here. So you've got this reinforced bit of fabric here. You've also got a little loop there as well. So what you want to do is just pop the trekking pole into there. I'm going to set this at about 140 centimetres. So I'll go up to the 140 mark. And I'll just check that that's kind of nicely pocketed in. Just going to turn that around a little bit. And there we go. And you might need to play about a little bit with the angle of the trekking pole to get it right in terms of how the tent sits. But you want it roughly in the middle. And then we'll have a look around the tent to see if it's all nicely set up. Now this can happen. So it has gone off on one side a little bit, but I know the reason for that is this side of the grass just sloped down. So that can happen with these mids. Can you see how it's kind of just gone off to one side? It doesn't help that the trekking pole tip is, like I said, that kind of handle shaped. So that really doesn't help the pitch in this case, but I'll have a little bit of a play about with that to see if I can get it right. And then we're just going to go along and just tighten each corners of the tent. And that's it. That's the Bonfus Middus setup, and you can live in there now if you wanted to. You don't need any more stakes. If there's not a lot of wind, you don't need anything else to do. We are going to go out though, these parts, which I'll go and do around in a second, but essentially that's all you need. And without the inner in, yeah, you don't need anything else. It's as simple as that. But the next thing we are going to do is set up the 1-person inner. Right, here we are, 1-person inner. Let's go and get this attached. So obviously the 1-person inner is traditionally made for the 1-person version, but they've made it so it does fit in both versions. And obviously you can pre-attach the inners as well, so you can have the inners already set up. So if you pre-attach them at home, or if you're on a trail and you've already attached it, you don't have to deattach the inner and then reattach them again. You can do it so that everything is already attached, and then it makes it for an easier setup. But it's definitely worth going through how to set it up initially in the first place. The first thing we're going to do is to attach the 2 corners. course, just on the end here, there's a little there's a little spot on the outside that you attach it to, and you want to do the same with this one. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to do that from the outside, so I'm not faffing about on the inside trying to do it. So just find the edge, and you've got this little clip, and then just here you snap that on, and that's fastened on the inside now. And then you also want to do the same with these 2 points here. Now what I'm going to do before I do that is I'm going to actually stake the two sides out, so it's nice and tall, otherwise it's going to be flapping in. So let's go and do that. You don't get any stakes with the tent either, so it doesn't come with stakes. You use your own stakes, which is fine. I always use my own stakes, so I'm not really bothered that it doesn't come with any additional stakes. And whilst I'm at it, I'm going to do the door as well, so you can stake out the doors, obviously the side that you're not going to be using. If you've got the one person inner in, you can just get that staked out. So that's nice and taut, and then you can see you've got this buckle here, kind of a storm buckle, so you can keep that closed. That helps keep everything nice and tight, so it prevents the zip from riding up. It's a really hot day here, and it's rather warm inside this tent, I have to say. Whew. I am perspiring slightly. So usually the same here, just clip it to each side. You can do this from the outside as well, so it depends on what you want to do. And then additionally, so you do have a little tab here, so you can put your own connectors on depending on how taut you want it. So I've got a couple that I've attached here, and you just get that attached there, and that'll help keep the inner nice and taut. So I'll do that on both sides. And then what you've got is the reinforced peak. Now I think they've changed the way this works. So mine came pre-installed with this bit of bungee cord and then the loop, but I don't think they actually put this on anymore, this buckle on, because what you can do is there's this little tag at the top. So what I've tended to do, attach the hook to the hanger and then just tension it as need be, so it gives you a nice taut inner. Oh, I need to open this door, I'm sweating. Oh, let's get these doors rolled back. So the doors have this little toggle. There's none of that magnetic stuff. It's the old-fashioned way, which works for me. I do quite like the magnetic buckles, but I think they've got better over time. I used to have one on the X-Mid, but it always came a little bit loose in wind. So there we go. That is the Bonfus Middus with the one-person inner setup. So what you can go and do is just go around and just adjust any points that you feel necessary here. Just give them a bit of a tug if they need to be tightened anymore. And you also got this little tab here, and you can pin that down. I tend to use a shepherd hook for that. Seems to be the best way to do it. Just slide that in. Ground's quite hard. That'll do for now. You get the gist. So on all the inners you have this rainbow style door. So there's no tie back option, so it just drops to the floor. Some people don't like that. I actually quite like it, because you don't have to mess about trying to toggle it and get it out of the way. It's quite nice just to sit on the floor. It does have its cons. It can get in the way a little bit, and also if it's really windy, I found that it can kind of flap up a little bit as well. So with anything, it's just pros and cons. Right, let's get inside. Oh. So obviously you've got your pole sitting down the middle. Straddle that, and obviously there's not a huge amount of space in here, but the whole point is that you're basically just going to be in here to sleep. And the advantage of having the one person inner in the two-person tent, look at all this vestibule space you've got. You've got the world's biggest vestibule here. So you can store your gear here and cook here, and you know, you can use this as a whole area. If you wanted to, you could have some kind of ground sheet here as well. Yeah, it does give you a lot of usable space. What I'll do is I'll set up a sleeping pad. This will be a regular wide sleeping pad. I'll put that in the tent, and then it will give you a better idea of all the kind of head height and stuff like that. Right, so that's the sleeping pad up. So with the sleeping pad up, you've got a bit of a gap at the end and also the other end. Obviously there's 0 gaps on the sides, so just a little bit of the head and the foot end. So if you are a little bit taller, this tent should be able to accommodate you. I'm 5'10" and I don't have any problems, but as you can see, I'm sitting up. My head is absolutely nowhere near the peak at all. It is touching the back a little bit, which is to be expected because it is a pyramid tent, so it does slope at the back. But let me take my shoes off, and then if I can lie down in here. I've also got my quilt with me, so I'll show you that in a minute. This is where I would be sleeping. My head's not touching, it will be slightly raised because of the pillows, but I still have a little bit of room at the foot end, so I could move the sleeping pad down a little bit. The side wall is nice, and it's quite taut. It's been pulled out by the buckles on either side just to tension that. There is a pocket here, so you can use that to store something very small in. That's the only pocket you do get on the tent. So let's zip up the rainbow door, and yeah, there isn't a lot of room in here, but that's not surprising considering that it is a one-person inner. So it is basically just for coming and sleeping in, but then you've got all this vestibule space, and I'll close the vestibule door so you can see that. Whilst I'm here, let's get the quilt out, and there you go. That's the one-person inner with the sleeping pad and the sleeping bag in there. Let me get into the sleeping bag. Right, say sleeping bag, it's a quilt, but you know what I mean. Don't want to be in here for too long, I'm going to burn up. So you can see now feet are slightly touching the mesh at the bottom with the sleeping bag. As it's a mesh, it's not too big a deal. And yeah, my head's just clear of the inner. Oof. But I'm getting out of that because it's hot. And the next thing you can do is close the inner. So there we go, inner is closed. You have this storm flap that goes over the zip in case it does piddle it down, but the zip is also waterproof. And yeah, as you can see now, I've got all this space. I've got my backpack here, and there's still tons of space to cook, tons of space to just do loads of stuff. So if you're looking for something which, if you want to lighten the weight off a bit, you can get the one-person inner and still have a huge tent to be able to shelter in and to cook in. It's more like your bedroom, and this is your living room / kitchen. But so that's it. So that is essentially the Bonfus Middus 2-person tent with the 1-person inner. Right. One other thing to note is if you don't have that hook, what you can do, lower the tent. I'm hoping you'll be able to see this. basically this loop here, so you don't have this hook, you can always buy one and attach one if you want to, but you do get this bit of bungee cord, and in this case you can just slide it over the tip of the trekking pole. Hopefully you can see that, and then go back into the peak and back up to the 140 height. So basically you can see there you've got it hooked on to the top of the trekking pole. So that is another option as well. I think there's probably multiple ways that you can kind of have this set up. We don't want to put too much stress on the fabric here, but either way I find keeps the inner, pretty taut. Next I'm going to dismantle this and we'll put the 2-person inner in. Right, so the 2-person inner is a similar setup, apart from the trekking pole is going to go inside of the inner. Same sort of thing, you've got your attachment points for each 4 corner, and then also on each corner you've got a little buckle that you can attach to each 4 corner. Mine didn't come with any buckles, so I just bought some and installed them separately. So you could do the same. So what we're going to do is take the trekking pole out of the tent now. So again, you can do this inside of the tent, like I did with the 1-person inner. But what I'm going to do is find the corners and then just get them attached. Right, that's all 4 corners attached. So now what we're going to do is unzip the inner. So obviously, like I said, you can set this up with the inner already in. You want to find your peak. Now for this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go the other way around. So I'm going to go the rubber tip side up into the peak, and then you'll also need to find the peak of the outer. Right, so notice here you've got this little black reinforcement point. So just kind of get that central, pop your trekking pole down, and then raise it up to the height that you want, 140 in this case, and then you can go along and adjust these if you need to. One final thing we want to do is attach these, which you don't have to do, but it obviously helps in terms of keeping the inner nice and taut. There's 2 on the other side. There you go. So that's all 4 corners pulled out. If you feel that the inner's not quite correct, as in it's moved over to one side, you can just lift the trekking pole up a bit and just shuffle it aside. But I think that's okay. Right, there we go. As with the 1-person version, you've also got this little loop here that you can tie that down to get the perfect pitch. Oh, let's get inside. Right, so you can see now we've got much more space on the inside, but you do have the pole going down the middle, which does obstruct somewhat. So you will have to sleep kind of on either side. You can't sleep obviously in the middle of the tent, so you'd have to sleep on one side if there's 1 person in here, one side, maybe put some gear and stuff here, clothes, whatnot. But let's get the sleeping pad in and the sleeping bag so you can now see the difference to the 1-person version. As you can see, the pad just about fits on this side. It is kind of pushing in here. It's not really made to fit in this tent. It does. I've slept with a wide sleeping pad in here many a time. It does just about work, but as you can see, it is putting a little bit of pressure on the side of the sleeping pad. I am going to set the other sleeping pad up so you can see if my Nemo Tensor Extreme kind of fits in here as well. Right, so when you're sleeping here, you've got enough room. You actually have more headspace with the two-person inner, I find. So I do find that you tend to have a little bit kind of more head and foot room. But obviously this pole does restrict you somewhat. You can see that the wide sleeping pad does fit in here okay. And basically you've got all this space here to then you can put other bits of gear, etc. There'll be enough room here to fit your backpack. But you can also put your backpack in the vestibule. So it does have a small vestibule. So let's have a look at that. I've got like a little bit of a vestibule area. Not a lot, but it is enough to store a backpack in the corner, kind of sitting up, your shoes and maybe some other bits of gear. And it's exactly the same on the other side of the tent as well. So you do have the same vestibule size on each side of the tent. And now we've got the zipper open. We've got this space here. It's nice with the rainbow door because what it does is it does open up the view. You haven't got like kind of as you do with the sides here, you haven't got the doors tied back, which can sometimes kind of hang and flop in your face. But yeah, you got all this area now. If you're pitched out and you've got nice scenery, this is quite nice scenery, but it's not the normal scenery I'm looking at. I'm normally looking at mountains, and yeah, your sleeping pad on that side, room to sit here, room to cook, but potentially also room to have another sleeping pad in here. Let's blow up the Nemo Tensor and see if that does fit. I haven't actually tried this. The only time I've slept in here with two people is with the centre pole removed, and I've actually slept with the double sleeping pad. So me and my girlfriend Emma we slept on one sleeping pad, which is smaller than the two regular wides put together, if that makes sense. Right, two wide sleeping pads set up. They don't really fit. Kind of do. They're pushing the walls out, and it's not really ideal. Let's just do that. Do the door up. It's putting a lot of strain on this zip. I'm not going to zip it up anymore. It doesn't work. I wouldn't have two wide sleeping pads in here. It's not going to fit. I think you have to have two regular sleeping pads in here. Yeah, it just doesn't go. It'd be putting strain on the sides of the sleeping pads. I think it would probably be the same even with the adapter, but we will have a look at that once I've got the solid inner set up with the adapter. But it's putting a lot of strain on the zip, so because it's pushing the bath floor out, you can see, and that's all kind of skew with. But back with just one pad in, that will work. The one pad will work. I've slept in here with the pole in, and the one wide sleeping pad. That does work. Although you'll probably be more comfortable size-wise in here if you did have just a regular pad. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to close up the doors. So you can see the vestibule space. So here you've got my backpack, which I can kind of store at the end. That's kind of there. It's just about enough room for a backpack. You can also stand it up on one side. I've got my shoes there, and then you can store other gear here like your cook kit and whatnot. Obviously it's a bit difficult to do any cooking with the door closed. One negative is there isn't a two-way zip, so it's just the one zip that goes up. I would love it if they'd put a second zip here so you can zip that down if you want to just have a look outside or speak to a friend in the other tent without actually having to go all the way up. That would be a nice feature if they did do that. Inside the tent you have two pockets, the same as the single. You've got one here and then one small pocket on the other side. You do have a little clip at the top so you can hang a light up there. Let's pin one of the doors back. And this is what it's like with one door closed and then one door open. So if you've got like rain and whatnot coming from this side, then you're a bit shielded and you can do a bit of cooking here with this side nice and open. And that's it. That is the two-person mesh inner with the pole going up the middle. Next, let's set up the two-person solid inner, and I'm going to set that up with the trekking pole adapter so we can get this out of the way. Right, and the final part of the setup is I'm going to do the solid inner, which is right here. So it's initially the same as the mesh inner. You attach it to all four corners, so I won't show you that. Once I've got them attached to all four corners, we're then going to use two trekking poles, and we're going to use the adapter that I have here. This adapter is from Mountain Laurel Designs. Basically it's two aluminium tubes. You've got this little sleeve here, and then I've just put a bit of tape just to hold the poles in. You could probably quite easily make this yourself, but I will leave a link below to where you can purchase this from. So I've got the solid inner attached to all four corners. It just attaches to the points on each corner. I showed the setup that with the mesh double inner, so you can go back and check that if you want to, but it's quite straightforward. It just basically clips to each of the four sides. Right, so now what we're going to do is get the adapter attached. So got the adapter here. What you want to do is find the reinforced peak. Now what I do is you've got this little bit of bungee loop here that comes with the inner. I just slide the pole through, and then I just tighten the cord, and then you've got this splitter. It goes like so. Next, you want to take your trekking pole. You're going to need to take the rubber tips off, get it set. I go to about 140 and then just play about with it from there, depending on how much space I want on either side. And then on one side, I'm going to insert the tip of the pole into the adapter, and we're going to do that then on the other side. Just find the adapter on the other side and then just insert your trekking pole. Now with the adapter you also get this bit of rope, bit of guy rope, and you also get a couple of carabiners. So I actually added this tensioner here so I can easily adjust the tautness as need be, rather than just having to either tie it on each time or tie it to a preset length. This just gives me a little bit more flexibility when attaching this. But what you need to do is find your little handle on your trekking pole. Just put it through the handle like so, and then you'll want to go underneath the tent, and you'll want to do that to the other side of the handle as well. It's a bit of a fiddly bit, but basically you just need to go underneath the tent. And you don't have to use this bit of cord. It's not essential that you use it, but I recommend that you do. And then this is the bit of the tricky part. So you want to take adapter with the trekking poles in, and you want to see if you can go and bring them both up to the peak, and then just do the same on the other side. Get to a certain length. I'm going to attach my carabiner, and then this is where I'm going to then tighten the rope so it goes up to the desired height. This bit can be a little bit fiddly. And there we go. So that's it installed with the trekking pole adapter either side. This is the way that I normally have this tent set up. So probably 90% of the time, this is how I will actually use the tent, rather than having the pole going vertically down the centre. And then, as with the mesh inner, you've also got these toggles, so you can make sure the inner is pulled out. And then, as before, you can just attach that down to the floor. And you have one added bonus actually with the solid inner. I'm not sure they started doing this with the mesh or not. My mesh is a little bit older. You've got this additional tie-out point which attaches to the door. I'll show you that on the other side. So you see on the inner you've got this tensioner, and then you can just attach that to one of the sides of the door. Excuse me, you can hear kids playing next door. Right, so let's have a look inside the solid inner. As you can see, it's not entirely solid. You have this piece of mesh at the top to help with ventilation. Right, as you can see now, without the trekking pole going down the middle, it has transformed the space inside this tent. If you didn't watch the earlier one with the double mesh inner and the pole going down, you'll really see the difference. The solid inner is this nice yellow, which is really warming when you are out in the winter and it's cold and snowy. Yeah, I've got all this space now. Let's get the sleeping pad in. Oh. So now you've got your sleeping pad, and you can sleep in the middle of the tent. So if we get my shoes off, let's close the door. Right, look at this, all this space. I never have a problem with my head touching the inner in this tent, I have to say. It's a good space in here, and it really does open things up once you haven't got the pole coming down the middle. As with the mesh version, you also have a hook at the top, so you can pop a light. You've got two pockets. I mean, the pockets are just like, I mean, they're nothing really. They're just, yeah, tiny kind of token pockets. As with the mesh version, you've got your little bit of vestibule area here, which you can't do a huge amount in. You now have the pole following the zipper of the door. But right, let's get the other sleeping pad in here and see if it fits side by side. I don't think it will. Let's give it a go. Yeah, I think the answer is no. Let's, so definitely more successful. Yeah, no, they don't fit. You can see kind of so you're bouncing on the sleeping pad. You can see side by. It's just pushing. it's pushing the inners out. So the floor isn't big enough to accommodate 2 wide sleeping pads. You would need 2 regular sleeping pads in here, or 2 mummy sleeping pads, and then you'd be absolutely fine. But yeah, you can't accommodate 2 wide sleeping pads. It's perfect for 1 double sleeping pad. I've had the Big Agnes Rapide SL, the double version, and that's perfect. I slept in here with my girlfriend with that, and yeah, no problems with that. And then, all right. Down the bottom here, it's just ever so slightly grazing the bottom. It's not really a problem. Yeah. Oh, I'm gonna get out of this sleeping bag quick, because I'm burning up. Oh, and that's it. That's the double solid inner with the adapters. Like I said, I pretty much always exclusively use the adapter with the 2 trekking pole version. Very rarely do I go straight down vertically. The only time I do that, apart from with the single version obviously, is if I'm taking the double, is if I want to pitch quickly and I can't be bothered to mess about with the adapter, which is a little bit more fiddly, not massively, but it does add a little bit more time on putting the adapter on. It's the best way to do it, for sure, especially if you're going to have 2 people in here. I would highly recommend it. Right, let's get out of this tent and then have a look around the outside of the tent and the features and all the guy out points that are available, because there are numerous. And again, as I showed you with the mesh inner, you do have just about enough vestibule space to store a bit of gear, so you can put your backpack underneath the vestibule to keep that dry. So you do get a little bit of vestibule, which is good for just storing a bit of gear, and you can have one side open and then cooking the other side just to help prevent you from any weather. Right, so one thing to look at is the vent. You get this Velcro stand, kickstand, so you can open the vent hole up, so it just attaches there, and you can change the angle of that. There's no additional mesh, it goes straight into so that's the inner there. There is only 1 vent, there's not one on both sides, so you'll want to make sure that is facing the opposite direction to the wind if possible. Worst comes to worst, you can obviously always get that closed back down, and it's just got a bit of Velcro so it doesn't come flying open. So there are numerous guy out points. Obviously you've got the 4 at the perimeter. You've also got an extra 2 on either side, which I always recommend pegging those down. You've got 2 at the end of each door. So there's 2 there, and then there's 2 here. If you're only using one of the vestibules then, and one of the doors, I recommend just pegging the other door down just to make everything nice and taut. And then additional guy out points, you got loads. So you got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So then you've got an additional 8 guy out points around the side of the tent. So if you're expecting a bit of chop, then you can really batten this tent down. But I can tell you something, I have had this tent out in a lot of wind without anything guyed out, none of these side points guyed out, just the ones at the bottom of the tent, and it's been absolutely fine. Very, very rarely do I actually use these guy out points. Right, let's talk about a few of the specs of the Bonfus Middus. I will be reading these off my phone, so you have to excuse me, I don't know them off by heart. For the outer, the DCF is 0.75, this is the spruce green version. You can also get a 0.8 white version as well. so that material is slightly tougher. It weighs in at 410 grams for the outer. You also get the stuff sack, it's an extra 12 grams. You also get an extra 12 meters of storm guy lines and line locks, which all come up to another 35 grams. Obviously the fabric is DCF, so the hydrostatic head is about 20,000 millimeters, so it is highly waterproof. It doesn't need to be seam sealed either. And all the reinforcement points are Ultra 100X. The guy lines themselves are 2.5 mil, ultra high molecule weight polyethylene, and they're overbraided with red polyester sheath and reflective traces. So essentially, yeah, they're quite strong guy lines, and they're also reflective. So if you're outside the tent, you've got your headlight shining on them, you can see where all the guy out points are. Again, because I don't often use the guy out points, one of the nice things about this tent, I don't often have to worry about when I'm walking around it, looking out for the guy out points and tripping over them like I do with some of my other tents. So as of the recording of this video, the price of the Bonfus Middus is €507. So the one person inner net weighs in at 235 grams. It comes with a DCF floor, and like I said, that does fit the one person and the two person version as well. And the price of that is €204. The two person mesh inner net is 335 grams, and that comes in at €241. The one person solid inner is 250 grams. That comes in at €212. I haven't actually tried that, so I don't know what that is like inside this tent, so I haven't actually got the one person solid, I've just got the one person mesh. And the two person solid version comes in at 350 grams, and that's €261. That's kind of about, because it depends obviously on the conversion and where you're buying it from. Right, so like I've said before, I've had this tent for quite a while now, so I've got a lot of experience with it. I've had this out in all sorts of conditions. What I will do is I will leave links below to videos of me using this tent in all sorts of different environments. So you can see it in a snowstorm, you can see it with two people in it, you can see it on top of a mountain, you can see me using the one person inner, the two person inner, the two person solid inner. I'll leave them all listed below so you can go and check out those videos. So what are my thoughts of the Bonfus Middus two person tent? I love this tent, I really do. If you will see by the videos that I've made over the last year, this has been the most used tent that I've got. I've had lots of tents. I've had the Durston X-Mid, I've got the Stone Glacier Skyscraper, I've had Landsham 1, Sierra Designs, Meteor 3000, I'm missing some tents. I've also got the Nordisk Skyland, which is specifically for winter use. This is probably the best, most flexible tent that I've got. A tent that I know that I can take this out in any conditions and it will be fine. I know that I can take this out in heavy winds and it will be fine. I know I can take it up mountains and it will be fine. Because it's so light, it's perfect for doing long distance trails. If you're going up mountains, at some point you're probably going to hit some pretty bad conditions. I wouldn't be worried. I'd pitch it, and if I need to go out those sides, I'd go out the sides, and I just wouldn't be worried at all. It's really light, it's really tough. It packs down not too bad as well, so it's not too big a pack size. What I will say is that for the winter, if I'm going on a really snowy camp and I'm not walking far to get there, if I'm doing like a 2-mile hike, I probably wouldn't take this tent in the future. I've got a couple of other tents that I would probably use for that, because they will be a little bit warmer on the inside. Even though the solid inner does a really good job, it still wouldn't be as warm and comfortable as something like my Nordisk Skyland tunnel tent, which has a lot more room and the solid inner on that will keep me warmer. But that weighs in at 3.5 kilo. This weighs in at a lot less. You know, you're well under the 1 kilo mark with this tent, with the solid. Whichever inner you go, you're around the 700-800 gram mark, which is just outstanding. So have I got any negatives about the tent? Not a lot, really. No. One of the things I would like to see is I would like to see a dual zip. So I'd like to see a zip at the top here. So when you're inside the tent, you can zip that down and just poke your head out and have a look around. That is something that I would really like. I think the space inside is perfect for one. It's cozy for two. So go and check out my West Highland Way videos and the wild camp that I did with my girlfriend Emma, and you'll see us kind of in there. It is cozy for two, but it's fine. It wasn't a problem for us. Yeah, it is a bit cozy. It can't fit two double sleeping pads side by side, as we've shown earlier in this video. So you could look at that as a bit of a negative. Obviously, if they were going to do that, they'd have to make the tent bigger on the inner, and probably bigger on the outer, because then you'd end up losing all the vestibule space you've got if you didn't do that, and then it adds more weight. So it's kind of pros and cons. It depends on what you're prioritizing, really. With the adapter, it's definitely a game changer. I would really look at getting some form of adapter, whether you get it from Mountain Laurel Designs. I'll leave a link below to that adapter. With the pole down the middle, it's also still very livable. I think the one person inner, for me, it's the inner that I use the least, because it is quite cramped and you're not saving a huge amount of weight, but it does give you a massive vestibule to use. So I think if I was gram counting, doing a long distance trail, and I'm only going to be in a tent for basically sleeping, I would probably take the one person inner along with me, and then just have all the vestibule space available to me to just store all of my gear and stuff. I guess you could look at things like, you know, should it have magnetic toggles? I don't personally think so. I don't think that's an issue at all. I haven't been a fan of the magnetic toggles, I have to say. One thing I will say is it's really well made, but all Bonfus gear is really well made. I've got quite a bit of Bonfus gear now, and everything is top notch. I haven't had anything on this fail on me at all. So yeah, my verdict is I think this is a brilliant tent. If you're looking in the market for something similar, something that's storm worthy, something that has bags of space for one and can accommodate two, something lightweight, something that's easy to pitch, I can highly recommend this tent. I really can. I think it's great. It's definitely my most versatile tent. Trekking pole tents do have their limitations a little bit. If you're going on really rocky ground, you've got to, it kind of lives and dies by its guy out points at the side. So that can always be a bit of a problem. That's when obviously a freestanding tent does come into its own a little bit. But so long as you're able to get the pegs in or use rocks to anchor the tent down, then that's something that can be overcome. So should you buy it? Absolutely you should. One thing I would want to talk about is any affiliation. I've had a couple of questions about that. I addressed them in my video that I did on the Bonfus Aeris backpack. In terms of affiliation with Bonfus, I do have an affiliate link. So because I've given Bonfus quite a bit of coverage on Instagram and on YouTube, they kindly offered me an affiliate link. It doesn't give you any money off, unfortunately, but if you do use the affiliate link, which of course you absolutely don't have to, I do get a little bit of commission, which really does help this channel out. It helps me test more gear out. So if you are looking at buying this tent or any of the Bonfus gear, following that link would be greatly appreciated, but obviously you don't have to at all. All of the Bonfus gear seen here I have purchased myself, with the exception of the solid inner. Bonfus kindly donated the solid inner for me to try. It was actually a pre-production model, so I had this before it was actually released. They asked if I wanted to try it out, and I absolutely said yes, so why wouldn't I? So they kindly donated that to me so I could try it out and give it a test and give them any feedback. They didn't give it to me and say I had to do a review of it and I had to be positive about it and I had to do anything. They just said try it out, you know, thanks for all the work you put in for making videos and stuff. So I'm not obliged to say, you know, this is amazing. Honestly, if this wasn't an amazing tent, I wouldn't be taking it out on all the journeys that you've seen me take it out on. No chance at all. So whilst I do have an affiliate link, you can be safe in the knowledge that by the tons of videos that I've had using this tent, you know that I really do rate this tent. Right, I think I've covered everything. If I haven't, then you will probably be able to find the answers in all the videos that I will list below in the description. You'll be able to see me using this out in the wild. If you did find this review useful, please do give it a thumbs up and please do subscribe because it really does help out the channel. If you've got any questions or comments, please do leave them below. I will try and help out. If I can't, I can always ask Bonfus, but Bonfus are always ready to help you out, so you can also contact Bonfus and they'll answer any questions for you. So thanks so much for watching. As always, stay safe, keep on trekking, and I'll see you on the next one.